of how can I make this attorney's life easier to help them make more money as a result of working with you. And the more you can refine and hone in on your skill sets within this remote work capacity, the more your clients are going to benefit from working with you, which ultimately leads to long-term retention and referral opportunities. Hi, and welcome back to the Paralegal Freelance Lounge. Jacqueline Foster here. Today, I want to talk about my top 7 tips for effective and efficient remote working within a law firm. Now, this is crucial for you as a freelance paralegal to really nail down and hone in on your skill sets of working remotely with a law firm, as 9.5 out of 10 times that is what a freelance paralegal is doing. They are working remotely with the firm. And the more you can refine and hone in on your skill sets within this remote work capacity, the more your clients are going to benefit from working with you, which ultimately leads to long-term retention and referral opportunities. Further, the better you can get at guiding your attorney, your client, through this remote work process and getting them set up and really perfected within their systems, the better chance they're going to send you more work because you're going to make it seamless for them. Always come into your new gigs with your clients in a sense of how can I make this attorney's life easier? The more you come in with that mentality, the better you will be able to identify areas within each unique firm that could be improved upon. And it is not uncommon for paralegals that come into law firms to freelance out their paralegal services to also act as a consultant for that firm to help better their SOPs, to help better their case management, to help them make more money as a result of working with you. Before I dive in, I want to talk about my course that is currently open for limited enrollment. This is not my freelance paralegal roadmap course, which is my signature course. This is my new course that I've introduced this year. This is the Freelance Paralegal Marketing Mastermind. It is an incredibly robust course on all avenues of marketing that I have implemented in my business that has helped my business scale to multiple 6 figures. In this course, I am giving you literally every single marketing strategy that I have implemented, all the tweaks I've made along the way, all the things that I found that work really well and don't work really well. I'm giving you the areas that you need to be focusing on the most, how you need to stay consistent, also helping you to, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, create your own unique marketing plan with a very sophisticated and organized annual marketing spreadsheet, as well as teaching you how to track your metrics and identify what is working for you individually within your own marketing plan and how to use those numbers and those metrics to make improvements, do more of what works, less of what doesn't, tweak the things that aren't working great or are starting to work but need to go that much further, and to really get more sophisticated in your marketing approach to your freelance paralegal business. You can take it in a self-paced way with all of the resources that you will need, including a workbook that you can use to repeat your efforts time over time, scripting for your content, podcast pitching, how to leverage ChatGPT as your marketing assistant so things don't sound like they came out of an AI's mouth. And by the time you're done with this course, you will feel so much more confident, clear-minded, and ready to implement a strong marketing strategy for your own freelance business this year so you can start seeing 10x growth month over month and get into that 6-figure path within the new year. Because I've had so many people ask for it. I'm opening it for a limited time right now outside of my roadmap course schedule. So be sure to go grab it. The doors are going to close on May 26th. There are also payment plans available, so be sure to go check it out. Head over to freelanceparalegalmarketing.com or simply click the link below. You can watch the entire orientation video of the marketing course that you're about to purchase, so you know exactly what I'll be discussing in each section of the course and make a really informed decision if this is the right course for you. Let's jump into today's topic. You're a paralegal. You likely have hundreds of strategies within your intellectual property of your brain that can benefit your firms currently. Don't ever be shy to make suggestions, provide constructive feedback, criticism, whatever you want to call it, to your current clients or your future clients. they likely, a lot of the things that you'll say to them regarding the efficiency of their practice, especially in a remote capacity, they're likely not even thinking of some of the things that you know. You could bring something up and they'll say, gosh, I didn't even consider that. That would be a game changer in my practice. Let's go. Let's implement it. Not only are you establishing a stronger relationship with your attorney as their freelance paralegal and now merging into sort of a unofficial consultant role with them, you're also opening the doors for more working opportunities for yourself, getting more hours. I can't tell you how many times I see paralegals say, I get my clients, but like getting them to send work feels like pulling teeth. The attorney isn't intentionally not sending you work 9 times out of 10. Typically what it is they just don't have a seamless way of doing it, or it feels like just one more task. Delegating work feels like another task for them and their plate is already so full. So don't be shy to reach out to your clients, and even on the onboarding or the discovery call, bring up some of these tips and some of these suggestions, or dive into what they currently have set up. Don't be shy to suggest some things where necessary. Of course, don't jump in and, do that thing where people do like, this is the only way that works. Really just start consulting with your firms and you're going to have a better relationship. You're going to get those hours up with your attorney and they will thank you 10 times over because you've made not only their life easier in the paralegal work that you're able to perform, but now you've made it easier for them to send you over work. You've made it easier for them to get things off their plate. And that's ultimately, at the end of the day, as freelance paralegals, what we're aiming to do is make our attorneys' lives easier. So let's just jump right into my top 7 tips over the course of my 6-7 years of working remotely with law firms, both as a paralegal, freelancing, subcontracting, running my own paralegal business, to now having a staffing agency and supporting my attorneys in working with our paralegals and how we can make that seamless for them. These are my top 7 tips and I'm going to jump right into them. And I have listed these in no particular order of importance. I'm just going to start running through them. Number 1, naming conventions. Naming conventions, naming conventions, naming conventions for the filing systems. Obviously, you as a paralegal, having worked in firm, even if you're on site, remote, does not matter, knows the importance of naming conventions to collaborate with a team. Not only to collaborate with a team, to be honest with you, to collaborate with yourself, to be able to go into a file and know exactly where you're looking, what you're looking for, how you can find it, how it's named, where it will be located, etc. So we obviously know the importance of naming conventions as a whole, but let's talk about it in the remote working environment and take it one step further. When I worked for an appellate attorney down in Texas, I learned this little tip that she does, and I absolutely loved it for co-collaboration on documents. What we did was we had each pleading that we were working on had its own individual file. And obviously we had a file for filed pleadings, so it matched the docket. But each file of, say we were drafting a motion for extension of time, for instance, we would have a file for that motion of extension of time within the drafts, name convention that file specifically as well, and then within it, the naming conventions on how we were working on edits. Something that gave her a lot of peace of mind was making a duplicate of the first draft and then working on that duplicate copy and titling it draft 1, draft 2. The reason she liked doing it this way versus like the one draft with red lines and this and that is that if something were to happen where somebody inadvertently deleted an entire paragraph or an entire page or something happened between the collaboration of back and forth of edits, we always had that original document to go back to. All right, tip number 2, get a communication platform such as Slack or Teams. Now, many attorneys are already using a platform like Slack or Teams or some other chat platform. They're all very similar where you can have channels. But if your attorney isn't and they don't really want to sign up for another software in their law firm when working with you, just go and sign up for it. If you have the funds in there, you can, likely, I think Teams is already a part of the 365. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but you can add guests and add channels for free where you and your attorney can communicate quickly through this chat platform. Avoid case communication by email, especially just those quick exchanges back and forth at all costs. Things get lost in email threads, and keep something very uniform. So for instance, a lot of my attorneys with their paralegals, they will have different channels specifically for each matter. So if they have quick questions like, hey, I'm working on the Smith petition, I can't seem to locate XYZ, do you know where it is? It's a simple chat back and forth, very organized for the case itself. So really this tip is a communications tip as a whole to ensure seamless communication back and forth. That will be probably the top 5 reasons an attorney decides to say, okay, the remote situation is just not working for me, is to say communication is just not seamless. It's getting clustered. I feel lost. I feel confused. I don't know what's going on. I can't find that last thread. I can't go up to their office and just quick ask them. Those types of things will make them feel like the remote setup is causing more headache than taking off their plate. So that leads me into, beyond just having that platform, that Slack, that Teams platform to collaborate and communicate seamlessly, is to say, when you get on a Zoom meeting, make sure you're taking diligent notes and recording what was talked about on each matter that you're working on in some place, right? In some place. Same thing with any phone calls, texts. Make sure if your attorney is not great at staying true to the platform you guys have decided on communication, that you're implementing it in some form. Recap that conversation in the chat, in the channel, in the matter, so they can recall what was decided, what was said, did we agree on this date, what have you. And that leads me to a suggestion for communication, is to have a weekly standing meeting. You might have this on a Monday morning, and if you're managing a bunch of attorneys, maybe you have 5 clients, 3 clients, schedule them back to back all Monday mornings so you can just get your Zoom meetings out of the way. That will help you so much when your attorney is struggling to send you work consistently, to just have that standing meeting. It could be 15 minutes, half hour, whatever the two of you decide is appropriate for their time slot. And make sure you just have that little powwow every week just to touch base. Like, this is what I have on my calendar as what I'm drafting. This is what the attorney has coming up. Is there anything you need me to do for that Smith hearing that's coming up? Those types of things, just to keep you guys consistently working together. If your attorney has an existing team in their office, they might already be doing these meetings. So try to be as accommodating as possible to join in on those meetings. Tip number 3 has to do with task delegations and deadlines. Even if there isn't a hard set deadline for a task an attorney has sent over to you, insist and ask that they set you deadlines. And I always say this to my clients when we're doing our onboardings with our paralegals. This is only so that the paralegal really knows how to prioritize your work in a way that you want it prioritized. Now, this is assuming that an attorney is utilizing a task delegation system. If they are not, encourage them to set one up and help them set that up. I'm going to use Clio for an example. In Clio, you can create task lists for those repeatable, happens every time on a case. For instance, in a probate, when you get that client signs a retainer, these are the steps you need to take. This is sort of the deadline you want set between each task. This is the waiting period. Once we get the publication going, we have to wait 3 consecutive weeks, what have you. You can set those up on autopilot so that when you assign a new matter in that practice area, those tasks fill in, but you can always add tasks manually later. It just saves that repetitive, okay, I'm constantly just delegating a petition over and over and over again. So if you can apply that to your practice area, and the things that are very repeatable, that are repeatable in a practice area, statutory deadlines, those types of things, it's saving your attorney so much time to not have to go in and I'm going to delegate you a petition. All they need to do is say, hey, I have a brand new client. Here's the information. And you know what to do as far as go in, get your tasks set up. You know those deadlines, and you can work with independence and autonomy to know you're just staying on track. Again, we're here to make the attorney's life easier, and this is one of the ways to do it. If they're not using a case management system at all, I know it can be intimidating to ask them to go pay for some high-level subscription of Clio or pay for those seats, which it's not terrible in the grand view of things, but still, even implement some free or very low cost services, anything like Todoist or anything that's offered in the Microsoft 365 products. Utilize something. We have to get tasks on paper somewhere. Not paper, I'm using that figuratively. On paper somewhere so that both of you can see what's coming up. And again, making those meetings effective and useful to have that task list pulled up so you're on track and what the attorney is really wanting you to work on for the week. And here's a little side tip to be an exceptional freelance paralegal. If the attorney has assigned you a deadline, in your mind, push that deadline back a day or two. It's not that you're totally aiming to beat the deadline, but it's giving you that reminder of at least look at the task, especially if it's a simple, quick task that you're probably not going to look at until the day of, to make sure you have everything, all your ducks in a row to meet that deadline. Don't wait till the day of and your attorney has 4 back-to-back hearings and you can't get that deadline done because you're held up on this access, that access. Oh, I don't have access to that file for whatever reason. Or, hey, this is not in there. The complaint's not in the file to do the amended complaint. We don't want that on our attorneys. We really want to make sure we're ahead of the game so that there's no hiccups and that deadline can truly be met. You should aim for 100% perfection rate on hitting deadlines best as possible. I understand I've worked in legal my whole life. Some things derail deadlines, derail our schedules, but aim for hitting that task deadline 100% of the time. So we talked about utilizing the Slack channel, utilizing meetings, staying in touch. And I touched on a little bit of recording conversations that are important that are happening off platform. Now let's talk and take it one step further and how we're going to memorialize that, because that's going to be my 4th tip, is to create a case memorialization, a case update section that anytime that case is touched, you should be taking a note. Again, we're using Clio as an example. Utilize the note section to memorialize what happened in that 10 minutes you worked on the file, in that 30 minutes. I know it might sound like, oh my gosh, like we're adding work to ourselves, but it'll save time. Further, if the attorney knows you're doing that, it'll cut back on their questions they have for you, because they know if they have a question like, did she work on that? What was where were we at on that? I can't remember, because they have so much going on up in their brain. They can quick run over to that matter where you have the notes section established, and they can look and see, what is this log? I like to in Clio, I don't like 1,000 notes, every time you're making a new note. I like 1 note dedicated in reverse chronological for last step. Okay, so we have this case notes, whatever you want to title it. You can obviously utilize the notes for other things, but keep all your little daily updates or every time I touch this file updates in 1 document within Clio, so that they can scroll back in reverse chronological and actually read a story about what you've been doing on the case. If you don't have, or your attorney doesn't have Clio or doesn't have any system, again, go to the Microsoft 365. OneNote would be a phenomenal place to go and put. You can have a folder for each matter and create that note within the matter of saying, okay, these are our case touch notes. Make it better for the attorney. Give them that peace of mind that at 4 a.m. when they're stirring in bed, they can quick pull up their OneNote or pull up their Clio and go see exactly what you were working on the day before, or where you're at on that demand, getting it out. Okay, tip number 5, it's not intended to be repetitive, but it is intended to be very much stressed, which is to over communicate. That is the number 1 principle to making remote work a success. Never assume your attorney knows what you're working on. Never assume your attorney knows that you're on track to meet that deadline. Never assume your attorney knows that you're working on their stuff, that you've received those tasks, that you have noticed that she sent you a Slack message, that you're checking your email to notice that the court had emailed about an error in the last filing you made. Never assume that they know what you're doing at your home office. And I'm not saying be nuts about it. Nobody likes to be bombarded with emails every 15 minutes. Like, hey, I'm working on this. Hey, I'm working on that. You can easily summarize a daily summarization of new things that came up. Hey, here, I just wanted to check in real quick before I log off for the day. I noted you assigned me XYZ tasks. I noted XYZ this. It'll take you 5 minutes to just a check-in message, maybe on your general Slack channel, or maybe you do reserve email for those recaps, summarizations of everything going on right now, or you have something more formalized in your systems to do that. Over communicate. Get on that Zoom meeting once a week. Email once a day just to let them know, hey, this is where we're at. double verify, remind them, I'm going on vacation next week. I am on track to get those deadlines done ahead of time, but I just wanted to remind you so, they don't send you something last minute while you're on vacation. They're like, crap, I forgot. Remember, attorneys aren't always great at organizing their own schedules, organizing their own thoughts. They're very, very overwhelmed a lot of the time with a multitude of things going on in their cases, in their day-to-day. Things derail them just like they derail us as paralegals. What they plan for the day, and all of a sudden they're getting bombarded by opposing counsel, having these issues, and they just kind of lose their train of thought. We know this. I know this as a mom, like trying to keep my kids' schedule, my work schedule, my husband's schedule, all my animals' schedules, all the things that I have to worry about just as a human being raising a family. Things slip my mind, or I forget. Did I actually write that down on the calendar? I don't know. Did I actually delegate that? I don't know. Did she just communicate, over communicate. Allow your attorney to feel like you always are there, even when you're not there. And I'm not saying blow off your boundaries and let them call you and always pick up when you're at a family dinner at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. I'm not saying make that the standard. Obviously, we want to have professional working environments of respect and mutual respect. But what if you do this during working hours? If you do this in your routine, those things will cut back. Your attorney will call you less in frantic panic, right? They will feel more confident in working with you. And I promise you this, I say this with my full heart. Your clients will forgive little errors here and there, maybe not perfect work product here and there, if you're exceptional at communicating, if you're exceptional at professionalism, if you show up. Now, I'm not saying you can give them a draft that's completely unusable and bill them 6 hours and they're going to say, well, at least she's a good communicator. I'm not saying that, but they will not nitpick the whole relationship as much when that communication piece is there, when they feel supported, when they feel like you are reliable, you're predictable. All right. Here's number 6. Now, this is going to definitely be dependent on the sophistication of your current client's law firm. How big are they? How much have they put into developing their SOPs? How much have they put into developing their onboarding systems of new hires? All those things. But I can tell you 50% of the time, if not more, attorneys have a long way to go in building out the back end of their business. And when I say back end, I don't mean case management. I don't mean workflows. Those are kind of more, to me, the front end of the business in a lot of ways. They operate the front. What I'm talking about is getting to the front, okay? Hiring new people, bringing in that next legal assistant, building out their team, creating new jobs, creating new roles as they grow their firm, to me is the back end of the business that business owners need to be spending a lot of their time in developing. The key thing attorneys miss, they forget to memorialize it for that back end. And you as the paralegal coming in, as you start getting closer with this attorney, as they take more of your suggestions and let you head up, build out SOPs for me. Help me build out the front end of my business to make it operate more efficiently. The case flows, the task list, the communication protocols, the calendaring, all the things. Also suggest to them that you memorialize, that you start documenting from day one what you're building out. I promise you, your attorney will be blown away at that mere suggestion, because you're, again, coming in to allow them to feel like you are here to support growth. And they might not have even thought of that, especially these solo attorneys that come fresh out of working as an associate or a partner at a different firm where they've handled all that back end, right? They've handled all that back end of onboarding new people, getting them into their systems. They're not thinking that far ahead yet. They're just trying to keep their head above water, start getting clients through the door and start making money. They're not thinking about growth a year from now. And that's a huge piece that attorneys are missing. So you coming in as this paralegal that's coming in to support the growth of their business is also looking ahead at, let's forecast what we'll need when that growth comes, when that growth hits that next level. And we decide, hey, your attorney decides, hey, it's time to bring in a full-time legal assistant to support us. You are coming in to say, let's start memorializing all of our systems. Let's memorialize our how we do XYZ. Now, this can look as a form of, utilizing a document, sort of like a handbook, if you will. What I like to do in my own business is I put all my case flows on my platform, Monday.com. And within each part of my business, my processes of recruitment, my processes of onboarding a new paralegal, my processes of onboarding an attorney, I'll record little videos, a loom, like, hey, this is where we go. This is how we do it. This is what we send out. Here's the template email, everything in that task. So you can do something similar within Clio, what have you, of as you build out these task lists, for instance, say it's a probate task list, and the first thing to do is draft the petition. You can, as soon as possible, record a quick little tutorial video on where to find things, how to edit the document, just basically observe me draft this petition. Because then when the attorney goes forward to start hiring more people, that paralegal can learn on the job as they're doing the thing, which personally, I mean, everybody's learning style is obviously different, but I always find if you can combine a bit of step by step while also doing, right? Doing and telling while they're doing, they can retain it so much quicker. And then if, down the road, questions come up or they forget XYZ, they can watch that video and brush up. Again, that's saving time for the attorney in the future. Attorneys are so hesitant to bring on more people into their firm because they're a little bit concerned. I shouldn't say a little bit, a lot concerned about the time commitment it is to train and develop. Not even, even if you're bringing in an absolutely experienced paralegal that can hit the ground running, training them into your systems, training them into how you like things done. So become that attorney's right-hand person that is helping them build out an onboarding experience for future growth. And of course, nothing is set in stone. It can be amended down the road, but the more we can get in the habit of that in law firms, the better our experience is going to be to bring in that next hire. So highly, highly encourage you for that remote. And maybe this isn't so much remote tip as it is just in theme of everything that is remote. Memorialize it all, right? Memorialize it all. And last, but certainly not least, number 7, create lasting relationships, even in this remote setup. The camaraderie and the experience working in a law firm, sometimes it's really negative, but a lot of the times for people, it's really positive. You get to know your coworkers, you sit down for lunch together, you have a cup of coffee together. And this might sound like such a floofy tip that I'm giving you, but it does actually bleed into the long-lasting relationships that you're building with your clients. Find ways to truly connect. Ask your attorney. Obviously, you're not going to charge them for it. Ask them if they're a wine drinker. Do you want to have a glass of wine? A Zoom wine meet and greet with all of us. Think about ways you can integrate yourself more with the team, especially if there's multiple people that you're working with. Can you meet up for a virtual coffee chat just to say like, hey, what's our biggest win of the week, or what's something personal that's exciting coming up? This obviously is a professional setting, but the more you can build genuine relationships, human relationships with your clients and your firm, the longer they're going to keep you around, because they look at you as part of the team. They look at you as a human being that, they enjoy, that they like, that they connect with, and also supports their bottom line in business, that also is helping their business further your chances of referrals. The more and more you can connect on a personal level, a personal professional level, mind you, the higher chance is going to be that they are going to refer you out to their colleagues, which attorneys really are probably the biggest advocates for things that work, to their colleagues. Like, hey, I met Stacy and she's been absolutely amazing in my business. I know she's looking for more work. Here's her information. You want to build those genuine connections. Just brainstorm, find ways that aren't dorky, that aren't cringeworthy, to connect with your client and your team on a deeper professional level so that you guys can build lasting relationships. You can earn more of their trust long term, and that your relationship can grow and develop in their law firm. All right, those are my 7 tips for the most efficient way to work remotely and to make the experience for attorneys really seamless. We want to avoid making this feel harder than it's worth for attorneys. As a paralegal or a legal assistant, please don't hesitate to drop in the comments on YouTube some of your tips for working remotely. like, you guys are brilliant. You're the paralegals out there working in the firms. Leave your tips that can help somebody else that is listening to this episode today. Or head over to the private Facebook group, Paralegal Freelance Lounge, and start a post of like, let's get this going. These are my best tips. Let's make that the theme of the week, to just share best practices back and forth. Another quick reminder, make sure you grab that freelance paralegal marketing mastermind course before the doors close on May 26th. Head over to freelanceparalegals.com and you will be able to learn all about the course and watch the orientation video and just determine if it's a good fit for you at this time. All right, everybody, until next week, have great days ahead of you.